Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a concept that honestly completely flips the script on how we look at success and failure. You know, we spend so much of our lives chasing these big goals, and inevitably, we hit that wall where we feel like we're just falling short. But what if our entire framework for understanding failure is literally completely backwards? What if failure isn't actually a lack of ability, but just an illusion that tricks us into throwing in the towel?
So, let me ask you right off the bat, why do we actually fail? Think about it. The answer definitely isn't what society has been feeding us. Whenever we see someone miss the mark, or when we abandon a project ourselves, what's our automatic assumption? We usually blame a lack of talent, maybe a lack of resources, or we just tell ourselves, well, I guess I just wasn't good enough, right? But today, we are going to challenge that totally accepted narrative and point the finger at a completely different and honestly much more uncomfortable culprit.
All right, part one, the real reason we fail. And spoiler alert, it has absolutely nothing to do with capability. To really wrap our heads around this, we basically need to rewrite the dictionary today. We have to define failure strictly as the act of stopping before the journey is actually complete. Most people do not fail because they lack the skills, they fail because they just quit too early. Think about the weight of that for a second. It completely rips away that comfortable safety net of saying, I just couldn't do it. It replaces it with the harsh reality that the finish line was always there. We just made the choice to stop walking toward it.
Because look, when you categorize your roadblocks as a lack of capability, you are inherently stripping yourself of your own agency. It implies you have this permanent biological limit that you just can't cross. But the moment you shift your perspective, the moment you realize you might just be quitting too early, you instantly take your power back. The failure isn't written into your DNA. It's merely a premature decision to stop. Moving right along to section 2, the illusion of zero progress and the incredible challenge of staying consistent.
The hardest part of any journey isn't the work. Let that sink in for a second. The physical labor, the late nights, the actual nuts and bolts of what you're trying to build, those are not the main roadblocks. We always psych ourselves out thinking the heavy lifting is the thing that breaks people. But honestly, human beings are actually unbelievably resilient when it comes to hard work.
The true difficulty is 100% mental. The hardest part is staying consistent when absolutely nothing seems to be happening. It's fighting through those agonizing, boring days when you feel like you are making literally zero progress. That is the illusion we were talking about at the start. You're putting in the hours, you're sweating, you are making sacrifices, and you look around and crickets. Your environment looks exactly the same as it did yesterday. Let me tell you, that lack of visible feedback is the ultimate test of human endurance.
Which brings us to section 3, the seed's invisible growth. I absolutely love this metaphor. This perfectly illustrates the reality of delayed results. Think about it. From day one, a seed is planted underground in the pitch black. For months, if you look at the surface, you'd assume nothing is happening. You might even think the thing is dead. But beneath the soil, there is this frantic, vigorous, completely invisible growth happening. Roots are taking hold. They're breaking through the earth. They're pulling in nutrients. All of this intense work has to happen long, long before anyone ever sees a magnificent tree actually break through the surface years later.
Listen, your effort is exactly the same. That invisible daily grind, those monotonous tasks you do day in and day out without anyone clapping for you or any immediate reward, that is exactly like that seed growing underground. Just because people can't see your branches yet doesn't mean the growth isn't actively happening just beneath the surface.
And here is what that unseen effort actually looks like in your life. Every single hour you spend learning, that's a root pushing deeper into the soil. The mistakes you make, which so many of us incorrectly view as failures, those are vital data points that are strengthening your foundation. And the challenges you overcome are actively building a far stronger version of you behind the scenes. The most crucial progress isn't even about the external goal. It's the internal transformation you undergo while you're chasing it. All right, bringing it home with section 4, who actually succeeds? It all comes down to refusing to give up.
If you take away only one thing from this explainer today, please let it be this. Don't let slow progress convince you that you're failing. We live in a world obsessed with instant gratification, so we're conditioned to believe that if something isn't happening right this very second, it never will. You have to actively remind yourself not to buy into that illusion. A lack of immediate, flashy results does not equal failure. Slow progress is still progress. The seed is still growing.
So, what's the game plan? It boils down to 2 relentless, unbreakable steps. Step 1, keep showing up. Even on the days when it feels entirely pointless, you have to defy the illusion. Step 2, keep improving. Use those mistakes to adapt and get better.
If you can just maintain that cycle through the agonizing phase of invisible growth, the results you've been waiting for will finally appear.
At the end of the day, the people who actually succeed, the ones who finally get to see their tree break through the soil, they are rarely the smartest people in the room. Ultimate success doesn't belong exclusively to the intellectual elite or the people who are naturally gifted from day one. No way. It belongs to those with the sheer, unapologetic stubbornness to just endure the invisible phase. It belongs to the people who flat out refused to give up when the progress was agonizingly slow.
So, I want to leave you with a question to really chew on. Knowing what we know now, that failure is usually just a premature exit, and knowing that your greatest growth is currently happening in the dark where absolutely no one can see it, will you quit before your tree appears? Trust your unseen growth, stay consistent in the dirt, and wait for your results to finally break ground.